Hello, and thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening. See, this hair is getting absolutely out of control, but we do put fertiliser on it, and very soon flowers are going to sprout from the top of my head, I think. But it shows it's live and it's all rock and roll. And there you go. But thank you so much for joining us this evening. You had a few interesting headlines on your
Yeah,
telephonic apparatus there, like packed buses and plenty of golf. This is what England's ease to lockdown looks like, and it's day 51. Although we've probably only done about 41 of them, but we're on most nights. Hello, a very, very
good
big and
evening.
warm welcome to our super friend, the mighty rocker Kev, who has joined us this evening. And yeah, we're going to have lots of stuff to chat about. Another interesting headline today. I think these are mostly from Sky News. Building sites to operate until 9 p.m. in residential areas to catch up on works. Yay!
God, yeah.
Something to look forward to, isn't it? And there was another one as well, which was. Oh no, Lamborghini among items seized in County Lines drugs raids. Damn, but it's nothing to do with coronavirus. But the other one was about mowing parks. But I can't see it here. But they were going to
Yeah,
cut strips in the grass. Hello,
there
Edward.
you go.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Socially distant stripes.
Mowed into grass in parks to keep visitors apart. So there'll be sort of little bits of going back to nature. Here in Cambridge, of course, because we're very kind of green and nature friendly anyway, we have strips in our park anyway that they don't mow, especially for the butterflies and all the flora and fauna and everything to develop as nature intended, which is a good thing, I think. Yeah.
And also Spain to reopen borders in July, but Britons may have to wait for holiday.
Oh.
I think we all have to stay at home. I mean, in the UK, if you do want to go out and stretch your legs.
Yeah, I was having a chat this afternoon to my good friend Rupert about summer holiday plans. He had plans to go all over the place, and now he might take his SUV across to France for a couple of days. But he said he'll go to one supermarket once and stock up on a bit of stuff. And that's kind of wise, because socially isolating means socially isolating, really, doesn't it? To coin a phrase and to sort of turn around what Theresa May said when she was Prime Minister, where she was going, Brexit means Brexit. Well, lockdown means lockdown, and that's more important than anything. And we forget about all the other stuff now because we're all in this boat together. And I'd like to read you, if I may, something I put on Facebook this evening. Or would you like to read it?
No, you can read that. You go ahead.
Okay, I mean, these are not my words. This is a post that's kind of circulating on Facebook a bit, and I found it. I did adapt it a bit. Actually, I merged the English and American versions. The English version talks about social distancing. The American version talks about wearing masks. But whatever you feel is the best strategy, the thing is to do it. So this is what this says. I'm staying home and limiting social contact, both for me and for you. No, I don't live in fear of the virus. I just want to be part of the solution, not the problem. I don't feel like the government is controlling me. I feel like I'm being a contributing adult to society, and I want to teach others the same. The world doesn't revolve around me. It's not about me and my comfort. If we could all live with other people's consideration in mind, the whole world would be a much better place. Cooperating with social distancing regulations doesn't make me weak, scared, stupid, or even controlled. It makes me considerate. When you think about what you're missing out on, or how unfair it is, just imagine someone close to you. Imagine a father, a mother, a grandparent, aunt or uncle choking on a respirator, alone, without you or any family member allowed at their bedside. Think about those frontline nurses, doctors, respiratory technicians, janitorial staff, and others whose life you will put in danger by infecting your neighbour, your co-worker, your mum and dad. Then ask yourself if you could have sucked it up a little bit for them. I think that sort of summarises the current position beautifully. And Kevin says that he shared these words as well, and thank you. And he says
Hello,
hello
Kevin.
to Irma. But that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about playing our part. It's about not really kind of complaining that there's been a lot of worse things going on in the world. And we just have to do our little bit to defeat this thing. We saw some shocking pictures just before we came on from Irma's homeland of Mexico, where the situation seems to be very bad. The situation seems to be very bad. And the countries that are going, yeah, it's okay, it's just the hour of reckoning hasn't yet hit them. And, 3-4 weeks later, it certainly does. Mm-hmm. Chrissy, thank you for joining us this evening. And Wendy, it's great to have you with us again. Now, apropos my hair, my mighty friend Kevin says, you should see my beard. I haven't trimmed it since lockdown began. Going for the Scott Ian look of Anthrax. Or maybe, if the lockdown goes on a bit longer, the old ZZ top look. That's my preferred one. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't shave their beards for £1 million. But let me break it exclusively tonight on this thing. I would. In fact, I'll do it for £500,000. Do we have a deal?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so things are continuing to be a bit distressful for many people in terms of this lockdown. We are going to keep ourselves indoors for a little while longer. Obviously, doing the regular outings to keep exercise and get a little bit of natural vitamin D. David kind of changed the tactic in terms of our post collection. Instead of having a letterbox and getting our post delivered through the letterbox, we have a letter.
We have a sort of Fort Knox, really. I just sealed the letterbox shut. And I got one of these things from B&Q, which is a thing that you stick on the wall outside the house with a little slot in it, like an outside letterbox. Hi, Wendy. Great to have you with us, as I said earlier. So that's our new letter delivery medium, and it works very well. A very good evening to our friend Fiona, just down the road in Ely. Hope things are good with you tonight, and to David as well. What have we been talking about? I read this thing that I posted on Facebook. I posted it as a Facebook story as well, but it's just about doing our bit, staying home and staying safe. And then we were talking about me gluing up the letterbox for now. I mean, that's a typical sort of eccentric David thing to do, isn't it? But we got one of these little what do you call them, external post boxes on the wall outside the house, and before I even had time to stick up the little note that I'd written saying, please wait a minute, Mr. Postman, put it in there, he already had. So I fixed this big sticky silly notice all over the floor and then opened the box to find 3 letters in it. So
you just like to be trendsetter.
Absolutely. Hello, Paul. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's great when people join us regularly in our home for our evening little chat. And there'll be plenty of reveals still to come of stuff going on in our life. There's a lot of stuff going on in our life, and we'd like you to be kind of a part of it. And over the next 2 or 3 months, there are going to be big changes, let me tell you. And it'll be like you're coming around for tea every day, and we'll be letting you know. Now, who was it? There was a famous actress who insured her legs. Let me see, a very famous Hollywood actress. I'm going to have to Google that.
I think
for $1 million, I think it was, which was a lot of money in those days. I'm not getting the internet, so we need to.
Probably because I'm on the internet.
It may be because you're on the internet. Maybe because I'm not even connected to your
was
internet.
Was it Tina Turner who also kind of insured her legs?
It wasn't Tina Turner. It was one of the sort of one of the legendary Hollywood actresses. Even though I'm right next to, look at this technology thing, I'm right next to that phone there. It's very romantic, but we're still not getting any signal whatsoever. I'm going to turn the Wi-Fi off and turn the Wi-Fi on, and still there's nothing from this wonderful piece of Apple technology that Irma is waiting for. They do look elegant, the old Crapple phones, but that is the end of it. In fact, that's a new name I'm going to call them. I'm going to call them Crapple. Wi-Fi mode. Look, and what? And allow us to board. No, you probably need to turn that off actually in order to do this. But put the
here we go.
The personal hotspot is there, and yet it's not there. So I'm going to have to. It wasn't
technology nowadays. You can never trust it. You can never trust it.
I must. I'm an information junkie. So I'm going to have to find out. Just hold the front page. It was one of the real insured legs for $1 million. Okay, and it was Betty Grable, the most famous probably pin-up in history. And in 1943, when $1 million would have been worth $14 million today, her studio took out a $1 million policy with Lloyd's, the insurers, on Betty Grable's legs, and we'll have to you'll have to, if you want to see what they look like, you'll have to Google it now because the old laptop doesn't work. So yeah, and that's going to ruin completely the entire broadcast because we won't be able to open any of the pages, and they will say, look, they will say, do you accept cookies and that kind of thing, all these things I was going to read out, and they won't let me go any further.
Let's talk about mindfulness. Be present, be in the moment.
And this is technology at its very finest. I'm going to turn this off.
Oh, Maria
and turn
Carey,
this on.
1 billion. Wow, really?
Oh
Mariah
my
Carey.
goodness! Oh my goodness! Well, So yes. So hello, Cal. Thank you. So nice of you to join us this evening. We were just talking about Betty Grable's legs, as you do when it's 8 o'clock in the evening and day 51 of lockdown. I mean, has it come to this? It probably has. I would have posted up a picture of Betty Grable's legs, but my internet is down. Apart from this stream.
If you put it on there, I should be able to.
Now, Kevin says that Mariah Carey's legs have been insured for $1 billion, but Rihanna's only for $1 million. Taylor Swift's, are we talking about legs here or voices or what? Taylor Swift's tonsils, $40 million. I'm not sure.
Tonsils?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what we're talking about. Why, says Cal? Yeah. Why did we get to talking about this? Oh, I know, because we were talking about.
It's a bit of a.
We were talking about this
mindfulness moment in terms of what this technology isn't working. So apologies.
Yeah, I couldn't get online on the old laptop here, so all the usual things that I talk about are currently out of bounds. Although we're working on this, the tech team is working overtime.
Yeah.
And so in the meantime, we started talking about Rocker Kev's beard. And Rocker Kev hasn't shaved his beard since lockdown. Irma comes at me with the hedge trimmer quite regularly whenever it gets to about that long. And and the hedge is sprouting, but I'm not allowed to. So legs. It is legs. So all these folks are insuring their legs. How much? Now look, here's the thing. How much do you think I should insure these for? These are wonderful legs here. And you know, how much would I get for them? I mean 50 quid?
No.
Less? I'm shocked. I'm mighty shocked. This is.
I'm sure you have to start the Wi-Fi there first in the actual.
Yeah, I probably will. But if I start the Wi-Fi.
Oh, there's the internet at the very bottom. Yeah.
No, it says.
Scroll down.
No,
down.
we are at the very bottom, and we're at the very top, and we're not in go mode.
God.
You could try switching that off and switching it on.
No, it's nothing to do with this.
Well, you could try because that's what they got. Do you know that show, The IT Crowd? I don't know if you've ever sseen that with Chris O'Dowd. Very funny program.
I'll do that.
And I'm not allowed to touch it.
No, don't touch it. Don't touch it.
There was that show called The IT Crowd. Very, very funny. Cal McDonald. Cal says, shave it, Irma, but I'm not sure what she's talking about.
Cal!
Really? Oh my! We are having a good old time at home today, aren't we? Sorry, Cal. I'm a devil, aren't I? My goodness me! What can you do with this? So now, according to Heidi Klum, when she got them appraised, her legs, I take it, she found out that they're not of equal value. However, as the left leg has a scar on it, and so it's not as pricey as the right one. Do you know, I'm reminded of a very... I mean, you can't make it up, can you? I'm reminded of a very, very funny... Ooh! Don't drop it. We'll leave the tech guru to do this. It's there. You know, turn the Wi-Fi on and off and what have you. So I'm reminded of a very, very funny sketch from Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. And only those of us who are of a certain age will remember it. It's absolutely dead, but don't worry, we'll push on. It's okay. Look, it's actually getting less Wi-Fi on there. So the sketch was One-Legged Tarzan. They did them at the Amnesty benefit concerts, and basically Dudley Moore comes in to audition for the role of Tarzan, and he's a one-legged man. So he's hopping along, and then to the theatrical agent who is considering from the role, and then Peter Cook as the agent says, look, I'm happy to see you audition for the role of Tarzan, and but do you see why you'd be inappropriate for it? And Dudley Moore goes, no, and so Peter Cook goes, well, let's put it this way, I've got nothing against your right leg, but neither of you. It's a very, very funny sketch, and this goes on and on about the role of Tarzan is customarily reserved for somebody who is bipedal and with 2 feet, and that Dudley's only got the one. But you know, those were the golden days of comedy, and they were very, very funny fellas.
Sound down.
The sound is down. The sound is probably down for you, Cal. But Kev or somebody will tell us otherwise if that's not the case.
If you start a hotspot there, then
How can we? Yeah, if we start the hotspot, it may mess up the entire
It will
broadcast.
not.
So we'll muddle through and see how far we can get. But thank you so much for your expertise
You're
there.
welcome.
It is probably so. If anybody else can hear us, do please say. And Tina Turner's legs, 3.2 million. Let me actually reply to Cal by typing in a response to say, I think it's your sound, Cal. Well, there we go. Yeah, sorry, it's all over the place tonight, isn't it? And the fact that we never prepare these doesn't prepare us for this, does it? But anyway, so going back to where we were, oh, the sound is back up now. Am I shaving my beard? Yes, of course I am.
No, I shaved his beard. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she did actually, and it's very kind. And Irma, especially because she had met the wild man from Borneo, she specially bought. She went to John Lewis and specially bought a shaving device to actually rein it in a bit. But it is quite wild, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, he just grows so.
it's like the Amazon rainforest, isn't it? And you're like the loggers. You're like the loggers
Huh?
in the Amazon rainforest
Oh.
who come and cut down this beautiful
Yeah.
this beautiful landscape and ecosystem and this kind of thing. You do realise there are things that live in there. It's their habitat, and they rely on it. They rely on it. They actually feed on all the bits of food that get stuck in there. You know. It's
Oh
kind
my God, David! No, I was just going
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We're in fine form. Oh, and Cal is off again. Oh, I'm very sorry, Cal. You need to give the phone a big shake and turn it upside down and shout into it and all that. But as far as I know, the sound is working for everybody else.
Okay. Shutting down.
And so did we remember Tina Turner? I think we remember Tina Turner's legs, 3.2 million.
They were beautiful legs.
You could get
wow.
very rich with these legs. We could have a whole pile of legs in the back room there and auction them off. And sort of we'd invite celebrities round for a party and they'd all leave in wheelchairs. And then we'd have an auction. That is just, oh, my goodness me. What nonsense I come up with, really, when I'm just, filling in because the text's broken.
Panicking.
Panicking. Yeah, panicking is probably the best way to describe this. These here we go then. Some coronavirus good news from the Irish Mirror, to be sure. And I'm allowed to do that. It's not racist when I go to be sure, because my great grandfather was Irish, so I'm allowed to do that. You're not. Now, over 19,000 people have recovered in Ireland from COVID-19 as cases continue to drop, and that is fabulous news. And that was announced apparently on Wednesday, which was today, as it happens. So it's very nice. It's very nice to see that people are on the mend and are coming round, and not so many new cases, which we're seeing in a lot of countries where the good folks stay home and follow the rules, and where there aren't any rules, where the rules are kind of like stay home unless you need to go out, in which case be careful. I mean, what on earth does that mean? Unless you've got some stupid nonsense stuff like that, then look, just to be clear, stay home and you won't catch it.
Simple.
Simples, as Alexander the meerkat would have said. Yeah. So anyway. Do you know, we're 20 minutes in. We haven't really started yet. So let's get started, because now we've got to work twice as fast. Researchers at the Ben Gurion University of Negev I believe that's in Israel, but I'm not very good at geography. And they've developed and are now working to confirm the viability of a 1 minute coronavirus test that uses samples from the breath or nose swabs to identify carriers. That's nearly as good as those pregnancy tests that you pee on, isn't it? They're pretty instant, I think. That's only pregnant. Bingo. She's given me that look. Oh dear. Oh dear. We are in
bodily fluids.
We are. So Cal says, shave off the beard.
Yeah. Shall we shave?
We'll have to do it live tomorrow night, won't we? But that, you do realise that's cruelty to termites that live in it.
Shall I shave your beard then?
We could, couldn't we? We could do that. We could do that. Now there's a thought. That's a very good thought, actually, Cal. If you join us tomorrow night, you might find that I look very different. Because my mask will fit better, which I haven't bought yet, but we were looking at one, which looks a bit like an astronaut or a motorcycle helmet. We saw a very funny one today, did we not, on somebody's Facebook, which consisted of, do you remember, somebody was wearing a sort of cushioned padded hoodie type thing. Do you remember? And they had a saucepan lid.
Oh yeah, that's a very cool one. That's a very cool, it's a saucepan, you put it inside a hoodie, and that's it, that's your mask.
You know those
Brilliant.
Glass saucepan lids?
Yes.
The glass ones. So this girl, she puts the glass saucepan lid with the handle against her face, and then she zips up the hoodie so there's only a hole about that big, and then she's ready to go for a walk. But as I pointed out, some of those saucepan lids have little holes in them for
very
ventilation.
tiny.
But the coronavirus virus is 1/80th of the diameter of a human
but
hair.
unless someone sneezes and it happens to go in there, but that's probably not going to be the case. So she's going to be okay.
Absolutely, it's certainly having a lot of fun, and it's a good way to make friends and influence people, isn't it?
The rough,
taking the rough with the smooth. This is about beards. Come on then, let's have
it. Right.
The rough,
okay.
the smooth.
Do you know what compunction is?
Compunction. Yeah, I have no compunction to tell you what compunction means. If you know what I mean. Come on then.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's a cornucopia.
Yeah, cornucopia. Utopia.
Horn of plenty.
Don't be disgusting.
Apologies. It's one of those things.
It's not. Apologise for me, not for anything that you've said. So yes, please, says Cal live on the air. Right, it's a deal. We're going to be shaving the old. Should we do the hair as well?
No.
I could be Telly Savalas. I could be the Telly Savalas of Cambridge.
No, not the hair.
Elizabeth, thank you for joining us this evening on our little chatteroony. This is in our living room. We do it every night, and most nights, and sometimes it's quite nice, like sitting around and just having a cup of tea and a natter. And sometimes I get the I don't know, fireworks in the posterior or something, and I become like this. like the safety fuse and retire. I tell you, it's a thing, isn't it? Not the hair, says Cal. And Kevin says, "Wow, what about the fireworks?" I'm only joking, my friend. No, not
what
really.
What are the fireworks?
The fireworks that we were talking about 30 seconds ago. She's getting like me. I have a very hard time sort of remembering what day of the week it is or what my name is. But and I rely on guidance from my very good.
You have surpassed my expectations.
Oh my goodness me! We're just
apologies.
This is what 51 days of lockdown does to you. I tell you.
It's just, you can get a bit crazy sometimes. We
Loody.
do work a heck of a lot, and by this time we just kind of the zombie side, if that's a word. But anyway, what do you have there, David?
Qatar Airwaves. Qatar, not spelled Qatar, but spelled QATAR. Qatar Airways are to offer 100,000 free return tickets to frontline healthcare professionals to thank them from their efforts in beating the coronavirus, which is such a super gesture. And this giveaway marks National Nurses Day, and you'll be able to register from today until Monday the 18th of May, which is a super offer. And I've got a friend who's a nurse, so I shall message her with this when we go off the air, because I think it's a very nice thing to do. Yeah, you've got to book it before the 26th of November, and it'll be valid until the 10th of December this year, which is terrifically nice. There are people who talk about second waves, which has nothing to do with the Mexican wave. It's to do with another bout of this nasty lurgy. Oh my goodness me, we're going to have to do this now. Rocker Kev is going to tune in live tomorrow, and he's going to donate £10 to NHS charities if I do it. This is
Now you've got
deeply
to do
honoursome. Now we've absolutely got to do it. We've absolutely got to do it.
You can't say no to that. I think you can.
I did it once on the radio about 10 years ago, but on the radio you can get away with it a bit. So what I actually did, I mean, this was before webcams and all that, so I did sort of do it, and this was a charity broadcast for children in need on Cam FM, home of the Rock Show, 97.2, but it was a daytime broadcast, and so what I did, I brought all my shaving equipment in, and then I just disappeared to the bathroom for 10 minutes and came back. And then we posted a still frame to show that I had done it. And I did really do it, but I did it in the bathroom. But now, tomorrow there'll be hair all over the keyboards and everywhere. You might do a bit of a pre-shave just beforehand and reduce the extra amount of fuzz. But yeah, this is a fabulous idea. And then the new mask that we're going to get will fit well as well. And because we're going to go around say Sainsbury's or whatever, dressed as spacemen, space people, in a few weeks' time. So now that all the hounds of hell have been unleashed by his Borisness, so it's that's why. But it's so contrarian. Good evening, Kevin. It's so contrarian because Boris says, right, well, go out if you must, and so I seal the letterbox with glue. What could be more contrarian than that, really? But long live contrarians.
Look at Cal. You're not the only one. It's one of those days.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, but it's not just us, it's Cal. Cal says, I was completely confused tonight. I went out to clap, but no one was there. I had a webinar for 8:05. When I turned it on, it stated it started tomorrow. I am in the wrong day.
Yes, but you were like that. What is everybody?
But if you hadn't been here tonight, we wouldn't have got onto the subject of beards, and I wouldn't be raising £10 for the NHS tomorrow. So it's good that you chose the right webinar to come on. Yeah, these online ones are all blah blah blah, giving it some. So this is real. This is real, and we can tell you everything they're saying on that one. Anyway, just ask away, and we'll tell you for free. We're not selling anything at the end either, except rolls of loo paper. One careful owner, 10,000 miles on the clock, used once, a £5. Does that work? Well, because they're in higher demand than Bitcoin these days, although Bitcoin isn't in very high demand anymore.
How can you sell if it is used?
Well, that's the thing. But why do people have washing lines, I ask you? It's not just for tea bags.
Oh, David.
Oh, where are we going
David.
tonight? Anyway, and this all started in Denmark. Something rotten in the state of Denmark, but actually not in this case, because the country's chief epidemiologist. Can't say that word. Epidemiologist has said that Denmark is very unlikely to have a second wave of this disease, because a lot of these pandemics they come back when people go out too soon, which we don't want to do, and hence Denmark has had is the first country in Europe to relax its lockdown about a month ago, and the infection rate and number of cases are continuing to drop because they're doing it the right way, I guess. So which is fantastic, and they're going to start tracking. I mean, that's the thing to do when you have your lockdown. When there's a case, you track everybody they're in contact with, not with a stupid app that you've written yourself in NHS Crawley or something, but with the thing that Apple and Google, big companies, have developed, and which is internationally, it has all the international protocols and works everywhere. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Now, but that's just me, isn't it? Really, yeah. So the fifth new day, which I didn't know because we were talking about Ireland earlier, for 5 days, no new COVID cases at all. Thailand, 0 new cases for the first time in months, and so this is all good stuff. New Zealand, for the 4th day since lockdown, no new cases. So these countries that do it properly, pretty damn good. Here in the UK, we are number 2 in the charts, but we're number 2 in the charts of people who've peed it up and not done it properly. Thank goodness, Cal, that Scotland is a place where they're still in lockdown and they're doing it properly. You're very lucky, actually, because all the zombies are walking around here, I tell you. They really are. Actually, they're not in Cambridge, because we're kind of anarchists, aren't we? So if the government says, out you go, we go, no, actually not. And
the majority, yeah.
It's as quiet out there.
It's quiet. Yeah, you can hear a little bit of movement going on in terms of trains and etc. etc. But that's about it. I think the majority are staying indoors still until whenever.
Yeah. Before the
It's safe to
beard
go out.
shaving, I'll probably go and do a little 1-minute Facebook Live in the car park or something, just to prove that it's still pretty empty here. I should do that. I should do that, because I did one of them quite early on into lockdown. We haven't had many cases here. We haven't had many cases here at all, actually,
No.
especially not on this end of town. Almost it, because but you just see people looking from. Well, actually, they don't twitch the curtains here, because it's not a kind of curtain twitching kind of place. They just stand at the front door and look wistfully. Sort of the couples will be kind of standing by their front doors like that, looking out at a world that used to exist a long time ago, and we're not really sure whether it's just a hologram now.
Yeah.
You know.
So anyway, but after this thing of Boris Johnson and just partially lifting the lockdown, what's
Yeah.
going to happen then in terms of people? Are we
Yeah.
all ready to set sails in terms of the new
Yeah.
whatever?
And casually saying such inspiring messages to the people like, well, hope there's a cure, but I don't know, he goes. And that's another thing he said in his talk. I mean, it was a very mixed thing. I reckon that Dominic fella wrote it for him, really. So, well. And here's a page that says it's good news about coronavirus, but it's very technical. It's lots of graphs and things, and they all look the same. Lots of sort of pink spiky graphs. So we're not even going to bother opening that page at all, because it's pink spiky graphs. I've got my own pink spiky graphs, the ones that I developed with my very good friend Kevin.
They are very, very good graphs. I'm really impressed. I was
they are
looking
the
at
business.
it today. Yeah.
Because now I've got the future. I had to sort of do a bit of experimentation with the mathematical formulas to make the future thing, but now the future thing ties in with the present thing beautifully, and it doesn't. The future thing used to peak every Monday when the figures went up, which was just a sort of accounting thing, because they weren't recording the figures very well over the weekend. But now I've factored that in my equations. It doesn't happen anymore. Our good friend Sharon is along tonight. Hello, Sharon. It's been a while, actually, hasn't it? It's been a while, but it's good to have you along with us. And do let us know how it's going with you. And if you've got one of those beautiful poems, post it our way, and I promise to read it out tonight as the last broadcast that I do with a beard for now.
Because tomorrow we are shaving
Tomorrow,
it.
this beard goes on the broadcast. I've been challenged to do it. Oh, and hello, Jim. Thank you for joining us as well. I mean, this is a bit of a weird thing to do, but I've been challenged during lockdown to get rid of the old beard here, and I'm going to do it. And you can be sure that there'll be hair in the computer, and it will all stop working halfway through, and the screen will go blank. But then you'll hear the screams of agony, as the chainsaw kind of slices into my face. We are going to use a chainsaw, are we?
Yeah.
Terrific. John Lewis's one from their kind of men's grooming department.
I
Well, it's,
remember when you went to that Turkish barbershop and we did that flame your
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
beard.
I remember that too. That was one of the most traumatic days of my life,
good.
because we went to the old for her watching, yeah. So we went to this Turkish barber in Cambridge. I'd never been to a Turkish barber before, but it came highly recommended. So I sit down there, and it all went well to start with. And then we're getting towards the end of this trimmage, and he gets out like a flamethrower. It's the kind of thing that they do deforestation with. So with a great big flame coming out of it like that. You know, I might be exaggerating a little bit. Maybe it's just like that. And I thought, what? And the next thing I know, this is going over my face, and then the old towel, like you have in the restaurants at the end of the meal, one of these sort of hot towel thing goes over my face, steam and smoke coming in all directions, and that's why this was a brown beard before that. I tell you.
Oh, that's not true.
Maybe. I'm exaggerating slightly, but only slightly. So Cal says yes, and I can't believe that either. That it's extraordinary that the property market has been opened up again, and that the death rate will skyrocket in London. The infection rate in London, according to the sporadic tests that we do, was 10%, and the rest of the country about 4%. Sharon says, now this is an interesting one. You can make sugar water and purify it and then dye it in multicolours. I didn't know that. Can you really? Wow. What, and dye the beard in multiple colours?
Or the hair.
Yeah. But won't the colours then come out when I do my annual shower on my birthday? If it's water soluble. That's the thing. But still, it lasts for the rest of this lockdown. So because my birthday is until January. So we're all right. Hello, another Sharon. We've got 2 Sharons watching us tonight. Welcome to our living room. We do this nightly get-together, chinwag, if you like, about all kinds of stuff, really, just keeping us sane and you entertained during the lockdown period. So Cal goes, Irma will be jumping for joy. She'll wonder who the young man is. It reminds me of a film. Is there really a beard removal movie?
No. Well, no.
Ooh, I don't know. What happens at the end of Castaway with Tom Hanks? Does he get cleaned up? I don't remember. Or maybe Mick Dundee in Crocodile Dundee.
I'm just thinking, my God.
She's making her plans. She is going to get a Sharpie out tonight. She's going to be marking all the zones on the old face that need a bit of trimmage, I think.
So I make sure. No, it's coming off completely. Moustache too? The moustache?
Well.
Oh.
Well. We'd better take the moustache off, because if we just leave a little bit there, I'll look like an evil dictator.
No.
And we wouldn't want that. I didn't mention his name. Kevin is there. I'm so pleased, he says. Irma is telling the truth about the beard. The sugar water might be good for the beard. Well, there we are. There we are. Are we going to auction the beard trimmings when we're finished?
No.
I did that once on Kevin will remember. I might remember. I did that once on the Rock Radio Network. I shaved off my beard and I kept it in a little plastic bag and I said, "Who wants it?" Not a single bit. I had to bid a penny myself and I got it and then I flushed it down the loo. And you mustn't flush things down the loo, by the way, because it's honestly not a good idea, especially in lockdown, where there are no plumbers available to deal with your indiscretions. I'm going to say no more. I'll leave the rest to your vivid imagination. But just don't, absolutely don't. And Sharon says, don't purify, punkify. Well, punkify is happening at this end. So that's all right. And Sharon says, the face of Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. How about that? I'm honoured.
Oh.
I'm honoured. You lucky girl. You're the one that I want. Ooh, 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 honey.
Don't give up the day job.
And Sharon says that I look like a teenager. Kevin says, yeah, Tom does get cleaned up. Is your nickname Wilson?
Yes, actually, yes.
Sharon goes, ooh, yeah. Well, point taken. I guess point taken. Now here's a point. This is a very good point that Kevin has made here. That the beard trimmings should go for our little feathered friends for the birds so that they can make nests. And you were telling me only yesterday why bird nests are round, which I didn't know. I thought they should just square ones and diamond ones and octagonal ones.
In fact, human hair is one of the strongest fibers that there is, and birds use it to build their nests.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point we were just getting rid of our hair in the bins and obviously going to landfills. So birds couldn't get to build their nests as effectively as they would for centuries from human hair. So.
Well, hey, well, and then there's a thing about round houses not getting blown away in the wind.
Oh yes.
Which we were reading yesterday about some special type of houses. I think they're modular constructed houses, are they? Mm-hmm. And they're circular. And went on a windy day, and I'm talking about a windy day, like Hurricane Irma is blowing, and nobody can resist that. But except these round houses, don't get blown away. Hey, look, is this not a wonderful thing? Is this not a wonderful thing? Well, don't keep it over there. Look, this is a wonderful thing. And first of all, it goes like that. You wondered, didn't you, what happened to all those old fans from the old desktop computers? Well, they packaged them up like that, and they're USB rechargeable. How do you think I get this look? And there we go. And we've got about 3 or 4 of them in the attic somewhere. We're going to have a good old clear out of the attic.
No.
So we will, there'll be photos, photographic evidence of what we're going to be up to here. Corinna, it's very nice to have you with us. Can I dance like John? Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that John can dance anymore.
No,
but,
he can't.
but
He can't.
how about that?
He can't.
Is that any good? You see, as a DJ, I can only dance from the waist up, you see, because you're spinning the platters and all you're able to do really is that. So that's not really dancing as such, is it? And a big shout out to Sharon at the back and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow you will have to practice a little bit with having some John Travolta movements. So you're gonna have that just after your beard. How is that?
We'll rehearse. Yeah, we'll rehearse. That's a very good idea. A very good
That
idea.
will be great.
So you know we're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow night. This is an extraordinary thing.
A monster influence.
So Kevin says yes, they are modular and they are panelised. I don't think it was you telling us about this.
Yes, he was.
Because I know we were talking with Kevin about modular things, but we were
Yes.
talking about the round ones.
Yes, he yeah.
And Kevin's a great fan of the old modular things, and it does sound like a terrific, because I think you were saying that a bungalow can be put up in a matter of hours, was it?
Yes,
Or
yes.
a house.
I know about those projects because I was very closely involved with a couple of those and a few other ones in terms of modular build.
It's a terrific way to do things, actually. Do you know Tesco? Now here's the question, and luckily this is a question that I'm able to answer today from Rocker Kev. As a DJ, are you like the newsreader who doesn't wear any trousers? Now, normally I might not be able to answer that question, but today I'm happy to report. Anyway, I showed my legs earlier. David's happy to report that he's wearing his cords here, and these are insured for $1 million, but the cords, not the legs. Yeah. Well spotted.
There's only one thing that he's lost. You have lost some weight. It is a lockdown because he's looking after himself quite heavily.
I have.
And yes, if he doesn't wear a belt,
Slippage.
slippage happened. So I was just
true.
making sure that he stayed in place when he was showing you.
And these, the ones that I've got now, the cords, Irma got them for me, and so they did fit at the point where we met, and they're already slipping as well. So I'm shrinking away by the day. The incredible shrinking man. I was 92 kilos just before she met me. If she had met me when she was 92, when I was 92 kilos, she would
You
have
were a bit
looked
heavy,
twice.
yeah, I remember.
A bit on the heavy side, yeah. But you've only seen it in photos. You've seen the photographic. In fact, this one, which doesn't say twat, actually, this one, it doesn't. That was made to fit me when I was much bigger. You see, so now there's a bit of slack there. And again, I'm going to have to. Yes, I'll have to wear it backwards tomorrow so that Kevin doesn't notice. But that's my trick. I'm very adaptable. Me. Now, Sharon says Gary Dass was speaking at Peterborough on stage, and this is something that she wrote when she was listening to him. Thank you for sharing, Sharon, which we did ask, and with your permission, I'll read this out right now.
Yes.
It's called A Mountain of Influence. We have so much within us. We are our own unique specialists. However, if we connect with those we help, and those that market too, potentially the power within can be released. With passion, power, and authenticity too, being uniquely you while you serve others, to harness yet more power, together within, and together with your chosen tribe. Thank you. That's lovely. And please, whenever you're on and whenever you join us, Sharon, I would be honoured if you're able to share some of your work, because it's really, you're really talented, and it just reads beautifully. I don't have a chance to rehearse these, so I just spontaneously say them. Mm-hmm. Kevin says leather trousers, figure hugging T-shirt. Can't wait.
Actually. But they're white.
Spandex, that's what we want. We'll bring out the spandex.
I have some spandex.
Have you really? Oh my goodness me, because all the sort of rockers in the 80s used to have them. I wasn't a rocker in the 80s because I wasn't old enough, I was too young in the short trousers then, and going, please teacher, the answer is 7. And she go, don't be stupid, 4 plus 4 is 8. That kind of Kevin, Irma, too much information about the slippage. Please try and behave. we're not
Apologies.
behaving tonight at all. I tell you, it's been an outrageous evening, and it started with the computer broken, and then it sort of went downhill from there really, and we just crossed all the boundaries of bad taste. Kevin, honest, I tell you,
Yeah, but it's working now. So why don't we get back to normal?
we've passed the point of no return. I think. I think so. I think we have. I think we have. And this is only tea I'm drinking. It is recycled tea, but you know,
This is also tea.
and that was tea, and it's not anymore. But you know,
Yes,
we'll
it
save
has
the other
to.
stuff till later. My friend, who I won't say his name, but he normally listens to the rock show. And there's a lot of messages on the comments of the rock show, and he's the only fellow who's never joined in with that. And he just PMs me and everything. Even my friend Eric joined in on the messaging last night on the rock show because we were playing a song that he suggested, and he joined that message thread, which was very nice. But my other friend, the one I was at school with, he didn't listen to last night because he was having a few too many bevies, and he was celebrating it in a sort of different way. But we had a long chat after the show anyway. He recommended some more songs and that kind of thing, and gave me a few Anuraki kind of things to check out. Anyway, Sharon says, I've lost 19 pounds since the 1st of January 20. All trousers fit or too big. Sharon, how did you do it? Do tell us how you did it, because I'm very interested to learn that, because mine kind of went off accidentally, but I'd like to leave some more, and I don't know how now. So I mean, and I'm serious about that, because I was doing a refurb. I was helping the builders, and the pounds came off in that way, and I was really, perspiring and not having a fridge to snack at all day long. And I was carrying these 20 kilo bags of Thistle multi-finish and all this kind of stuff to win a bet, which I won. But because somebody told me, and if you lay down a challenge like this beard thing, and when people lay down a challenge, I do it. So this guy said, you're an old codger now, you couldn't help out on a building site, so I helped on one of my own, and I lost a lot of kilos in the process, but I don't know how to lose any more. You see, so any.
I don't think you want to lose anymore. You're okay. You're perfect.
Are you
like
sure?
that.
When I
Yes.
was in my 20s, I was 66 kilos, and now I'm 69 kilos. That's 3 more kilos.
Well,
Isn't that
that's
hard?
fine. That's perfect.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100%.
The good news is I'm not allergic to peanuts, because I came up in some kind of rush. I'm very allergic to some nuts, and I was really worried that I was allergic to peanuts, because my peanut butter is orangutan friendly. So every time I buy a tub, I'm saving some orangutan. Then I come up in this rush, and I know that peanut allergy is very dangerous. So I said to Emma, well, I'm not going to have any more peanut butter. And then I kind of waited about a day and had some, and I was all right. So then I was able to break the news.
Yeah.
But do be careful if you're watching at home, because there's this really dangerous thing called anaphylaxis, which you can get if you have peanut allergies. But luckily, well, hey, I don't. But don't, if you think you might have one, wait till coronavirus is over and then go into hospital and have a test and that kind of thing. Don't be stupid like me, because silly boy. Taught, says Sharon Griffiths. Yeah, this is some kind of T-shirt that I got it from a tenant who moved out. Actually, it was brand new and shrink wrapped. And I said, "Hey, have this." And I said, "Yeah, all right." And I'm glad it doesn't say twat anyway. So that, because that would be insulting.
Probably that's what he meant.
My goodness, do you hear that? Do you hear that? Cal says, "Don't get any thinner." Okay,
Yeah.
well, you're on. We won't get any thinner, or not much thinner. Kevin says, "Well done, Sharon. That's brilliant." And I guess referring to Sharon's opus that we read earlier. And Sharon goes, "Oh, another one. Wow,
Ooh.
wow." This emerged in lockdown, says Sharon. So if you'll bear with us, I will read another of Sharon's poems, because I tell you, I'm a great fan. And we've missed you, Sharon. We've also missed your poems as you share them with us. So here's number 2 for this evening. It's called Life. The curtain opens gently. Life is given from conception, that special moment of legacy's interruption. Before commencement, there simply was not anything other than a new beginning. As the child emerges from the womb, a new life begins in this world, predetermined by the past, but now changed. As the child heads towards the future, initially, usually unconsciously, then unfolds the reality of what will be, destiny's child until awakened, maybe one day choosing how to be. and then can unfold the mystery of truly living. The chosen reality, being free with awareness, consciously, fully present to a projected, true, new reality. Consciously choosing to script, to create, to live the inner world as is chosen to be. Until, of course, the final curtain draws and closes, as the child that was leaves this physical work. Wow.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Very
I'm
insightful.
honoured that you share that and that you allow me to read that and share that with all our friends tonight. Sharon says, I met my hubby in an Essex gym in Essex in '88 wearing orange lycra spandex outfit, and white leather training belt. We both progressed to shell suits. How cool is that? I'm an Essex boy. Not many people know that. That's the place that I came from. Well,
Hormones
we can't
everywhere.
say bad about Essex. Let's say a pheromonal Essex gym. Let's not say stinky. Cal, yes, I use a mug for wine sometimes too, Irma. How about that?
Been discovered. Oh,
Rumble.
that's wise people.
And this is one hell of a mug because it's got the whole world. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Isn't that nice? And I think you found that, didn't you? I think
Yes,
you found
I love it.
And then
I
I
really love
insisted
it.
that we bought it. We found this in a store. And because it's a modern one, it says Russian Federation, not the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. So, you've got to have one of them. That means it's less than 30 years old. Holistically, says Sharon, following the system. Trust, faith, tenacity, sustainability. A combination of nutrition and exercise, sleep and hydration. Thank you. I'll have to try that. Because to do it randomly is probably not all that healthy. Michael, a very good evening to you. You've been joining us regularly on these. What have you got there?
Oh, right. Yeah, it's basically boring things. It's just expanding our reality about energy following thought. We move towards, but not beyond, what we can imagine. What we assume, expect, or believe creates and colors our experience. By expanding our deepest beliefs about what is possible, we change our experience of life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I found that, and thank you. And thank you for letting me express it too.
Sharon is writing her second co-authored book, which is fabulous. What about the first one? Where can I get it? Where can I see it? This is we're getting a lot of revelations tonight. Another revelation is this. I didn't know this, and I've known Kevin for ages. Kevin is an Essex boy too. Whereabouts in Essex were you from? If you tell me, I'll tell you where I was from. Era of white stilettos and big hair and shoulders. Jason and Kylie. Oh yeah, I know it well. Wow. How about that? Stock Aitken and Waterman and all that sort of thing. And Neighbours as well with Jason and Kylie in it. And Kylie was in Doctor Who, wasn't she? She did one of the Christmas specials. She did. She came on and guested. So that's got to be a good thing. That's got to be a good thing. Yeah. So many children on Canvey Island were called Jason and Kylie. I did not know that, in homage to those well, first of all, they were Neighbours stars, weren't they, Jason and Kylie? And then there was a wedding on Neighbours as well, wasn't there, that featured them?
Yeah.
And that was as big as like Who Shot JR in Dallas, which is probably a bit before your time. Oh my goodness! Da 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 da. And she's looking at me blankly. We'll have to watch that. That was a Lorimar production. I think they were the company that made it.
I wasn't allowed to watch so much television when I was growing up.
Oh, I had square eyes.
No.
Well, it was my friend, along with the radio in the corner. Anyway, mostly the radio actually. Speaking from our hearts, Paul Lowe released the 1st of the 11th, 2019. Wow, I'm gonna look that up. Thank you so much. Well, as soon as we get off tonight, we'll have to finish in a minute now, so we can look that up. Yeah. But not until we've gone through all these things on the old laptop. Yeah.
Kevin is saying that he was born in Rochford, near
Southend. Oh, near Southend-on-Sea, which is where our good friends Joanna and Fred are. So we'll have to have a natter about that next week on the Rock Show.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
What an incredible
finish.
thing! What an incredible thing!
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I was a little bit north of you in a place called Colchester. How about that? And yeah. Ooh. By the seaside, and so you were near Southend-on-Sea, and I know Rochford. I've been there, and then you ended up in Hastings, also by the sea. So
Is
you
that
must have a
something
love
else
of the sea.
where we're supposed to be going and we never went?
Southend-on-Sea is where Fred and Joanna live, so we did go. And
Oh,
visit
we
them.
did go there, yeah.
There are places. Oh, well, that was Mersey Island we never went to, where my friend Paul used to do this radio show called Mersey Island Discs. I don't know if Paul's still listening. It was a great show. And he had me on once as a guest, and it was a kind of spoof of the paying homage, to the famous one on BBC Radio called Desert Island Discs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we never got to go to Mersey Island because I think we were quite nearby, and we discovered that the tide was in at that point. And so this is an island just off the coast of Essex, for those who don't know. And it's only accessible for about 12 hours of the day, and then the tide comes in and submerges the road, and any cars on the road presumably float off and are never seen again.
So what happens when you, for example, if you happen to be in the island and then the tide goes up and then...
Well, you got to wait.
And what do you do there?
Who knows? Play
At the
chess,
hotels?
learn Scrabble. I don't think they're beach huts. So what do you do? Whatever you do in a beach hut.
Asleep.
I think that would be the answer. I think that would be the answer. But you have to find the owner of the beach hut to open it up and let you in, and they're probably on the mainland. So it's probably not to be recommended. But they do have the dates of the tides and when it's coming in and out and all that kind of stuff. So a silent E, ego, E silent. So Essex men are rather unique, says Sharon, and so I take it your hubby is an Essex man as well, and well, thank you. Yes, we are. I'm deeply honoured. There, you're listening.
Now I get it.
You're here. So Sharon did her first aid training in Rochford. It is indeed a very small world. And Sharon lived in Southend during that big storm, the storm of I thought it was 87, it was apparently 86. But do you know, there was a huge storm in England, which first of all, there's this weatherman on telly called Michael Fish, and a viewer, I was going to say emailed him, but this was 1986. So a viewer, I don't know, rang up the BBC or whatever from France and said, "I hear there's a big storm on the way." And Michael Fisher goes, "Don't be so silly. Just take a Valium and go back to bed, Mrs." And so of course there was the biggest storm in the whole of history, and this weatherman Michael Fish was forever laughed at, and that was his everybody when they thought of Michael Fish thought hurricane. And so this was a real big deal hurricane. There's a place called Sevenoaks. Sharon's hubby comes from Hockley. Yay! This is the Essex party tonight. Sorry, Emma. But so this was one hell of a thing. That the town of Sevenoaks in Kent became One Oaks because of these 7 historic oak trees. 6 of them blew down. I was living actually literally opposite the Literal Park, Finsbury Park in London. And that was decimated. It was decimated, and it was closed for about 2 or 3 months after this thing, and trees all over the place, and the whole place torn apart by this hurricane. Central London, where I was working, felt like the seaside. It felt like being on the Hastings or Southend seafront, because all the crap air had been blown away. So for 2 or 3 days before the old, a bit like now with lockdown, where the air's nice again and all that. And so what did I do on the night of that particular hurricane? Well, can you guess what I did on the night of the hurricane? The biggest storm. Yeah, I slept right through it.
He does that.
I woke up in the morning, I said, "Hey, what's happening, man?" And it was a very different world out there. So a bit like the world we're going to emerge into when lockdown ends and we're all allowed out again.
Which I can't wait.
Yeah, I was doing this live the other day. Oh my goodness. So Kevin was at work during the storm and had to drive home in the morning, which must have been dodging a few trees, blocking the streets and all that kind of thing. That must have been, quite traumatic, I would say. Wow. 1987. Okay, Colchester. Wow, Sharon worked at the Wilshire Marriage Centre in Barrack Street in Colchester, which I know like the back of my hand. That one. Not that one, that one's a bit crinkly, but that one. I won't be able to do that the other. Well, I'm just saying goodbye to the fungus, the facial fungus.
Yes, tomorrow this beard is coming off live. Kevin has kindly offered to donate £10 to the NHS. I wonder
We can't resist it, can we? Really? I can't go over doing it on the radio, can I? No, probably not. I didn't think so. I could do it during the rock show and then post a photoshopped picture of me without a beard. But that wouldn't be quite the same.
You're going to look ever so young, I suppose.
You're very kind. You're very kind. People do say that, but you know. Oh
God!
This is terrible. Some terrible. Sharon says that her hubby's dog passed away the day after the storm. A golden retriever, and they're beautiful dogs. And that he trod on a fallen electric cable and was electrocuted.
That's my goodness, that's terrible.
How terrible! Oh, I'm so sorry. Moving on. Here's a headline from the BBC. It says, "Top candidates for making a COVID vaccine identified by who?" What, in the TARDIS? The Doctor?
No, World Health Organization.
Damn! Because that would have been handy, because then he could have gone a year into the future, picked up some, because you know the TARDIS is bigger on the inside, so he could have picked up 1 million little vials of this thing, come back, and it would have been all over. But hundreds of scientists all over the world, well, we know that, are taking part, blah, blah, blah. Out of these hundreds, there are 7 to 8 which are top, not 78, but between 7 and 8, which are top candidates. And then, have I got to say the name of the Director General of the WHO? Are you going to torture me with that? Well, Tedros, that's an easy bit. Adhanom, that's a reasonably easy bit, but this, Ghebreyesus. Ghebreyesus.
Yeah, easy.
Ghebreyesus, that's difficult to say. That surely is. I'm allowed to, look, and for the avoidance of doubt, I'm allowed to take the Michael out of Ireland, because my grandfather was Irish and proud of it, and also my all-time hero was Ronan O'Reilly, the founder of Radio Caroline. He was Irish. His grandfather was the O'Reilly, who was actually the guy who took the lead in the 1916 Irish Revolution. So, you know, there you go. So I'm allowed to occasionally poke gentle fun at the Irish nation, because I am one.
Can we have the questions, please?
Oh, Kevin has given me by PM the questions that were at the conference. Oh, you said it. Yeah, of course we can. And thank you so much for reminding me of stuff, because I'm so senile, you know, that I just forget obvious things. I nearly forgot the best show on I don't know if Kevin agrees, but I think absolutely the best song on the entire rock show tonight was last night. The one that Irma found. It was Isolation, Jeff Beck and Johnny Depp. And who would have thought that Johnny Depp could sing? But it was wonderful. And then after the show, we played the Lennon one. And, you know, I think the new version's better. I really do. I really do.
That was an awesome track, yeah.
Now, another thing, whilst on the way to find the questions from the press conference, Kevin also sent me a story about a 400-year-old Greenland shark that had been discovered, and these things just live a heck of a long time. And isn't that a wonderful, inspiring story? Absolutely. I mean, he looks a bit, what is it you say, long in the tooth, but for 400 years he looks a lot better than I will when I'm 400 years old. Let me assure you of that. So today's questions from the public to the government, and this is a government that refused to publish the chart, I think, because it was looking a bit a bit embarrassing for Boris, and B, thought of excluding journalists altogether, but that's only the grey-haired one in the States does that. The grey-haired one over here isn't allowed to do that, because we live in a democracy. Right. So today's questions from the public, and I haven't seen these before, so it's much better to do them unseen. Michael from London says,
will the government pledge to protect the theatre and performing arts industries, who will be without income much longer than other industries?
What do you reckon, Emma?
I don't know. Yeah, they're really suffering quite a lot.
We're talking about a government that pledged, on the side of a bus, £350 million a week to the NHS. On the side of a big red bus, and we're still waiting for that.
Yeah. So,
and that's shameful. We shouldn't be waiting for that. We should be getting that now.
Arts are really important.
The arts are really important too, absolutely. So we should get some of that money that's been squirreled away by your chums, Mr. PM, in tax havens, in Panama or wherever it is, and let's have some of that cash now going to good causes. Come on. You know, it makes sense. And I'm not a socialist as such, but I really do think it's time to do that. So, question number 2. Laura from Rossendale says,
There was a lot of talk about people being able to meet up in family clusters of bubbles. When are we likely to see this put in place?
in Belgium. Oh, when? Because they've announced this in Belgium, that you're going to be able to make a list of 3 friends, just 3, and they're going to be able to come round to your house for tea, and you're going to be able to go round to their house for dinner, and we were talking about these different names for all the different meals the other day. But rather embarrassingly and rather unfortunately, you're not allowed, if you have a falling out with number 2, you can't bring anybody else in. Those 3 are for the whole of their lockdown. So it's going to be, could you think of 3 people you'd want to meet, and to the exclusion of anybody else? Well, there's obviously me and there's Craig, our son, but who else? There'd be just one more. Don't say it live, because that will offend everybody else, you see. But it's you, and the 3rd person is you. That's the way I tell them. But yeah, so yes, thank you for those questions, Kevin. Also, thank you for giving me a bit of a nudge. So Bob Russell, isn't he the is he the MP for Colchester? Because Sir Bob Geldof was the Live Aid fellow, wasn't he? But I think Bob Russell was the Colchester MP at some point. I could be wrong. But Sharon says, I sent him an email from Wilson Marriage and sent ripples of shockwaves. I was naughty but fed up with another restructuring. Anyway, he came and visited. Hey, how about that? And sent a lovely thank you letter. So Kevin says, thank you, Irma. It's a brilliant tune. I agree. I like the new Johnny Depp and Jeff Beck version. So that's 3 of us. I'm probably Ronnie from New Mexico. I'm probably Fred and Joanna. I can't speak for them, but they would probably agree with you as well. And probably Wendy, who I think was watching a bit earlier on. Steve, thank you for joining us this evening. Cal says, and I'm afraid you're probably right, the arts will be at the bottom of the list, which is shameful because the arts is the soul of the country. Mm-hmm. So you know, there's no excuse.
Arts is very, very important, even for children, for everything really, to express for artists themselves.
So yes, so Sharon says that he was the MP for Colchester. I thought I remembered that name. He was MP, I think, just after I left Colchester, because we had an MP called Anthony Buck. He was the MP for Colchester when I lived there back in the early 1970s. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I know, displaying my age. It'll soon be the case that everybody who was born in the 70s will be 70. Mm-hmm. How about that? Anita, thank you for joining us this evening. Sharon's got a super idea for how we can skirt all these restrictions and go and hug our family. And she says, put your house on the market. Get the board up outside, have the photographs, get it listed. And then the family can come round for a viewing. But they must abide by the social isolation rules. The only time we saw our son since the start of lockdown, we were standing at the foot of his garden about 5 metres away, and he's more isolationist than we are, and he wouldn't let us take every time we went to take a step forward to reduce it to 4 metres, he'd go, whoa! and he was standing there with his pitchfork, you know, keeping us at bay. And we were a bit like the spy swaps on the bridges in Berlin, where the Americans were and the Russians were there and the spies used to cross over. We were putting bits of paper for him on the middle of the garden path, and then we were backing off and he was coming to retrieve them. It worked. We're still here and nobody's coughing. So that's got to be a good and positive sign, I guess. And libraries as well, says Sharon. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for your company this evening. You have a great night too, and hope you will stay safe as well. It's been great of you to join us. So Sharon says that the idea of putting your house on the market comes from John Colclough, who is a great friend of ours, actually. Have you ever met him, Sharon? He's a lovely, lovely fella. And not long before lockdown, we meet him from time to time. Not long before lockdown, we had dinner with him in a hotel in Ely, where he'd been visiting our mutual friend Fiona. It's a very small world. And then about a year ago now, I think I went up to visit a friend of mine in Ipswich, who's a developer, and he was showing me around his site very kindly. And who should turn up at the site but John as well, John Cockloff. So we both had a look round together, and we're wearing sort of like special galoshes and things, and they had things to go over your shoes when you went inside the... it was a very interesting site, actually, because this was a building site, but he'd bought some old deer's bungalow, and he was building out the back garden, and he was using her bungalow as the site office. And then he wasn't going to knock it down, he was just going to refurbish it and include that as part of the development. So that was quite interesting. But it wasn't John's development. John and I were just visiting, passing through. Cal says, is everyone doing a deep cleanse after each viewing? She didn't hear the broadcast. That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think you'd have to. There are these UV machines at the moment that Emma and I saw. We saw pictures of those. And they look like K9 from Doctor Who, so a kind of square metal box with wheels on, but with a big thing coming out of its back, which is a tube like that, a bit like the centre of the TARDIS, really, that being a Doctor Who fan. And this blue thing lets out blue light, which is UV light. You can hold up your banknotes to see if they're genuine, but you can't actually, because it would probably kill you, because it lets out a lot of UV. And 10 minutes this machine on, with you not in the room and with it all shut up, will kill any bugs that are lurking therein. And 'tis true.
Right.
Right, says Irma. Okay. Okay, so right. Right. Well, look, there you go. Look, I would tell you a lot more, but it distinctly says there, as you can see, no bloody internet, it says. So we have reached the end of the line, which, that was a song, wasn't it, by the Travelling Wilburys, I think. And we are. So, but we're not without your thought. What is that robot doing to that poor fellow's face?
Right, basically it's saying that we're talking about friendships and how we're gonna be socially affected.
Before you read it, may I borrow this photo? This is kind of. So that is how to greet a robot. You he pushes you in the face. He says, "Back off, man." Yeah.
No, if you see robots. Apparently they're going to be able to trick us into believing that they are behaving like humans. They have decoded us very nicely in terms of what we like as humans, what we dislike as humans, and they're trying to make this kind of appealing things for us to get.
So they can do the old facial expressions.
Yeah. He says, already there are humanoid robots capable of convincing people they are emotional beings. That's a tricky one, isn't it? I hope that doesn't happen.
See, I don't know about you, but in between my ears, it used to be just a big void space, but now there's a kind of biological computer. That is called the BRAIN, brain, and so it is a kind of computer. So
it is a computer, a very sophisticated computer.
Therefore, am I really emotional, or am I just a cold fish and faking it with my facial expressions and tears and stuff? Because you're saying there that a robot can do it, but a robot surely is just a computer in a box.
Yes, but for example, if they have been programmed to decode every single emotion that we portray, therefore, it's like advertising. They tricked our perceptions of what we like or dislike. Right, so they are going to be doing exactly the same thing. For example, in this particular photo that you've shown here, it's a robot. It's got a round face. So basically, it's kind of the first appealing, big eyes, big sad eyes, and if he gets to know you a little bit by, for example, Cortana. He knows she knows what you want, etc., etc. So they can potentially do that kind of thing, which I think is very sad.
The robot's learning all the facial expressions. Isn't that what we do as babies?
Yes.
Ah, gotcha.
He got me.
Boosh. Anyway, can you tell us more from this article? Because all I talked about was the photo so far, and you were going to enlighten us with.
No. That was earlier on. No, basically, how do Facebook friends compare with real life ones, and is there a formula for maintaining friendships? And apparently, the more friends you have, the more intelligent you are, because you manage these social equations in kind of things. But anyway, it's a more in-depth conversation that obviously we went over today.
Sharon very wisely observes that Sharon says John is very nice. He is nice. Sharon knows John. She's followed him for 2 years now in his homies group, and his build team worked on her last property in Stoke. And she signposts property investors to John, as do I. He's a lovely fellow. I've known him for a bit longer than that. He came and mentored with us in Marbella 2 years running when we were running a little retreat. And so he's my numero uno. He's a terrific guy. So next time you're in that group, Sharon, do please say hello to John from me and tell him what a terrific fella I said he was, and because he is. Now, Sharon very astutely observed, and I thought that was pretty sharp, that when technology doesn't work, it's back to paper-based resources, and we just demonstrated that. So yeah, very wise point.
Yeah.
So we always sort of finish this, don't we, with a bit of wisdom, and that means that I shut up and Irma takes over.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of thought. It says, write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. Ralph Waldo, and the mind is everything. When we think, what we think, we become.
Now that first one, didn't I say something very similar myself this afternoon?
Yes, he did.
Can we remember what it was? Is it in one of the books written down?
I think I have written.
So
written that was sometimes you shock me with
very
wisdom.
occasionally. Very occasionally.
very
Whenever I do it, it's so occasional. It's about twice since we met. So immediately writes it down.
So today's was every day is its own source of joy. David Clout. And with that note,
we say good night. Thank you so much for coming into our home this evening.
It was a joyful evening. Thank you.
It is you guys are our friends during this lockdown, and well, you guys are our friends all year round. But particularly in terms of inviting people to our humble abode and having a cuppa and a natter and this kind of thing. And I suppose after lockdown ends, we'll continue to do this because. A lot of our friends don't live just down the road. They're all kind of spaced out, not only just in this country, but in other countries too. And, it'll be lovely to go and share a cuppa occasionally and come round to Southend and see or whatever. But in the meantime...
We will.
And we will. And you'll come round here. But in the meantime, this is a great way to connect more often, isn't it? It's a terrific resource. And we are honoured... really honoured for every single person that joins us on these nightly chats that we have. So that's it.
That's it.
Thank you, and take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And if you want to glue your letterbox shut, tell him Dave made you do it. Very good night to you. Thank you so much for your company tonight. It's been an honour.